Beneath the marble streets of Rome, where pilgrims walk in silent reverence, lies a world the Church never meant for you to see. Behind locked iron doors, beneath centuries of stone and secrecy, there are corridors where the air smells of parchment, incense, and dust older than time. Down there, in the forgotten vaults of the Vatican, a single candle burns beside a manuscript bound in red leather, its title erased, its edges blackened by centuries of forbidden handling. Those who have glimpsed its pages speak of visions that could shatter faith itself. Prophecies so dangerous they were sealed away, written by the hands of saints and seers, who foresaw not just the rise of kingdoms, but the fall of heaven's earthly throne. Buried beneath Rome, these words whisper of a future the Church has spent 2 millennia trying to erase. A time when light and darkness would trade places, and truth itself would be declared heresy. Tonight, that silence is broken. What was buried in the vaults of the Vatican will rise again. What you are about to hear will change your life forever. In 1610, under the reign of Pope Paul V, a sealed vault was added deep beneath the apostolic palace. Few outside the papal circle knew of its purpose, and fewer still were ever permitted to enter. Within its walls lay not gold nor relics of saints, but something far more dangerous: prophecies, scrolls written in the trembling hands of mystics, letters sent to popes that spoke of celestial warnings, and transcripts of visions so vivid that the Vatican feared their very reading could ignite chaos among the faithful. The Church called them revelations prohibitae, the forbidden revelations. They told of storms of fire, of a time when shepherds would become wolves, and when the great basilica itself would tremble under the weight of its own silence. Yet not all prophecies spoke of doom. Some whispered of a spiritual awakening the Church could not control, a light that would rise from outside its walls, awakening souls without the need for priests or sacraments. It was this, more than anything, that terrified those who held the keys of St. Peter. If prophecy could reach the people directly, if divine truth required no institution, then the power of Rome itself would crumble. So the scrolls were hidden, their authors condemned, their words erased from public record. The vault was sealed with wax and oath, and the Church declared, "These writings shall not see the light of day." But secrets have a way of surviving. Fragments surfaced over centuries, translated in whispers, smuggled out by scholars, buried again by fear. And now, in the digital age, the archives breathe once more. The walls of silence begin to crack. For the first time, this forbidden knowledge will now be revealed. To understand the forbidden prophecies buried beneath Rome, we must first return to the 12th century, to a monk whose visions would echo through the corridors of the Vatican for centuries to come. His name was Saint Malachy of Armagh, an Irish archbishop known for miracles and divine insight. On a pilgrimage to Rome, Malachy is said to have fallen into a trance before the tomb of St. Peter. When he awoke, he carried with him a sequence of visions, one to 12 Latin mottos, each describing a future pope, ending with one final figure, Petrus Romanus, Peter the Roman. For generations, these prophecies remained hidden in the Vatican's vaults, whispered only among cardinals and theologians. Yet each new papal reign seemed to fulfill another line of Malachy's list with eerie precision, until there were no lines left. The final prophecy foretold a time of trial, a collapse of faith, and a burning city of 7 hills, Rome itself. When the last pope sits upon the throne, it said, "The judge shall return to judge his people." But this was only the beginning. Centuries later, in 1917, 3 children in Fatima, Portugal, claimed to see the Virgin Mary. She delivered 3 secrets: visions of hell, the rise of war, and a final prophecy that the Vatican locked away for decades. The Church released the first two, but the third secret remained sealed, until the year 2000, when an edited version was revealed. Yet the whispers never ceased. The true text, some say, speaks not of past wars, but of the spiritual fall of the Church itself, a corruption rising from within its walls, and a light that would one day return to expose it. These two prophecies, Malachy's list and Fatima's vision, share a thread that the Vatican fears most: the idea that divine truth cannot be contained. Each speaks of cycles, the death of power, the rebirth of light, the end of illusion, and within these cycles lies the first secret practice, the ritual of vigilance. The ancient seers wrote that prophecy does not belong to chosen men, but to awakened souls. To listen to divine guidance, one must practice stillness of mind and purity of intention. Sit in darkness. Breathe deeply. Let the noise of the world dissolve until all that remains is the pulse of your own heart. Then ask silently, "What must I see that I have refused to see?" In that question lies the beginning of prophecy, for vision is not granted, it is remembered. Those who dared this practice were said to receive glimpses, flashes of light, symbols in dreams, voices calling them to truth. And each who saw carried both a blessing and a burden, the burden of knowledge too dangerous to speak. Thus began the silence of Rome. Throughout the centuries, there were those who tried to pierce the Vatican's veil of secrecy: mystics, scholars, and even priests who believed the light of truth should not be locked away. One of them was Father Ernesto Balducci, a theologian and astronomer in the mid-1900s. Balducci openly claimed that humanity was approaching a cosmic turning point, a moment when spiritual evolution would outgrow religious control. He hinted that the Vatican possessed ancient texts predicting this transformation, prophecies that described not an apocalypse, but an awakening. Shortly after making these claims public, he was excommunicated, and his writings disappeared into the archives he once studied. Another was Sister Lucia, the surviving witness of the Fatima apparitions. In her later years, she wrote letters to Rome, warning that the final secret had been misinterpreted. "It is not the world that will burn," she wrote, "but the hearts of those who hide the truth." Her correspondence was seized by church officials. Her warnings never reached the public. Modern science, in its own way, is beginning to echo what these visionaries once knew. Neuroscience shows that the human brain can enter states of heightened intuition and perception, moments where the boundary between thought and revelation dissolves. Quantum physics suggests that consciousness and reality are intertwined. That intention may shape events before they unfold. What the ancients called prophecy, we now glimpse as the subtle mechanics of mind and matter. The second secret practice hidden within these forbidden prophecies is called the mirror of revelation. It is said that before one can see the future, they must face the shadows of the present. To perform it, sit before a candle in silence. Gaze into the flame until your reflection appears in the shimmer of its light. Whisper quietly, "Show me not what I want to see, but what I must." Then close your eyes. Images will rise, memories, fears, patterns repeating in your life. These are the personal prophecies of the soul. For the universe does not speak in words, but in mirrors. Those who practiced this ritual in secret often recorded their visions and sealed them in letters to the Vatican, believing the Church might one day understand. Instead, the letters were locked away, proof that the divine spark could ignite in any heart, not just those crowned with holy authority. And so, behind marble walls and gilded ceilings, a quiet war began, between revelation and control, between the living spirit and the institution that feared its fire. There is a legend whispered among certain Vatican archivists of a text so ancient its letters were written in a language older than Latin, older even than Hebrew. They call it the Codex Lux Aeterna, the Book of Eternal Light. Said to be hidden within the secret archives beneath the Apostolic Library, it contains diagrams of celestial alignments, maps of the heavens drawn not as stars, but as living codes. Those who have seen copies describe patterns resembling the double helix of DNA and geometric symbols later mirrored in sacred architecture around the world. If true, the implications are staggering. It suggests that prophecy is not merely about predicting time, but decoding the living structure of creation itself, a sacred geometry that links cosmos and consciousness. The ancients believed that the human body is a mirror of the universe, and that the divine language is inscribed within our very cells. As above, so below was not poetry. It was a formula, one that the Vatican understood too well. Within this cosmic vision lies the third secret practice, the alignment of light. This ritual, passed down through mystic orders long before Christianity, teaches the practitioner to synchronize the breath with the pulse of the universe. Stand beneath the night sky or before an image of it. Inhale slowly through the nose for a count of 7, visualizing starlight entering your body. Hold that light at the center of your chest, the throne of the soul. Exhale slowly for the same count, imagining that light expanding outward to touch all existence. This breathing, when done with intention, alters both body and field. Modern research in quantum biology has begun to reveal how light interacts with DNA, how photons communicate within living cells like a silent symphony. Mystics called this the song of creation. The Vatican called it dangerous. For if light could be awakened within each person, who would need an intermediary to speak to God? The Codex Lux Aeterna reportedly ends with a warning. When man remembers the pattern of light, the heavens shall open, and all that is hidden will be revealed. It is this revelation that terrifies those who guard the vaults beneath Rome. For in the end, prophecy is not about predicting the fall of empires. It is about remembering what has always been written inside us. And when enough of humanity remembers, no wall, no church, no empire of marble will be able to contain it. At the turning of the 20th century, whispers emerged from within the Vatican that a secret council had been convened. The Custodes Lucis, the keepers of the light. Their mission, to guard the most dangerous of all prophecies, one said to foretell not the end of the world, but the end of spiritual control. Within that text, a single line was repeated 3 times, written in crimson ink. When the temple beneath Rome trembles, the light of heaven shall rise from the hands of the unchosen. The Church feared that line more than any heresy, for it suggested that divine revelation would one day bypass its hierarchy entirely, that ordinary people, the unchosen, would receive the light directly. And in the age of digital communication, where secrets can no longer be contained, that prophecy is awakening. Modern mystics and scientists alike are now discovering the same truth that the Vatican buried. That consciousness itself is a field, woven through all creation. Quantum physicists observe entanglement, the instantaneous link between particles across galaxies. Theologians call it spirit. When one awakens, the rest begin to stir. This is the mechanism of prophecy, not prediction, but synchronization. Hidden within letters attributed to St. John of the Cross lies an encoded meditation once banned by the Inquisition. It instructed followers to stare into the darkness until they saw the hidden light within it, for the light of God dwells most secretly in the shadow. Centuries later, scientists would call this biophotonic emission, the faint light emitted by living cells, the glow of consciousness itself. Here lies the fourth secret practice, the gaze into the shadow. In a darkened room, light a single candle. Watch the flame flicker until its glow fades into afterimage. Close your eyes. You will see its shadow pulsing behind your eyelids, changing shape, revealing symbols you did not invent. This is the language of the soul, the same living alphabet through which prophets once read the future. To see it is to remember that the divine and the forbidden are one and the same, two halves of the same fire. Across centuries, those who dared perform these rituals were called heretics, mystics, dreamers. But perhaps they were simply rememberers, souls who refused to forget the original covenant between light and man. And so, beneath Rome, the Vatican still guards vaults filled not with gold, but with warnings, not of destruction, but of awakening. For the prophecy has already begun. The temple trembles, the unchosen are rising. But beware, every light casts a shadow. What sleeps beneath Rome was hidden not only to protect power, but to protect humanity from its own blindness. The forbidden prophecies were never meant for the unprepared. Their language was fire disguised as scripture, and fire, in the wrong hands, consumes more than it illuminates. Those who sought to use these teachings for domination, for vanity, or for spectacle were the first to fall into madness. Their visions became fragmented, reflecting their own inner corruption. They saw the future not as revelation, but as control. The archives are filled with such tragedies: scribes who burned their manuscripts, monks who vanished into silence, and mystics whose final words warned, "Beware the desire to know before the heart is ready to love." Science, too, speaks a similar warning. The same quantum forces that connect consciousness can also amplify chaos. Energy without balance breeds destruction. The human mind, if opened too quickly, can collapse beneath the weight of what it perceives. The ancients called it the fall of the inner temple. That is why the Vatican buried the prophecies, not out of cruelty, but fear. For those who master these secrets command both creation and destruction. Within the codes of light lies the pattern of life itself, and whoever bends that pattern without wisdom becomes its victim. So listen carefully, seeker of hidden things. The vault beneath Rome was sealed for a reason. You have been given fragments, not to play with power, but to remember humility. Knowledge does not make one divine. Surrender does. Whoever masters this secret masters their destiny. Now you have walked through the corridors beneath Rome, through dust and silence, through vaults where prophecy breathes in the dark. You have seen what few were ever meant to see, the fire that the Vatican hid not to destroy, but to delay. Yet time itself can no longer hold what was destined to rise. The forbidden prophecies do not speak only of the church, nor of kingdoms and popes. They speak of you, of the inner temple within every human being that waits to awaken. The light beneath Rome is also the light beneath your ribs, pulsing, ancient, eternal. The vault was never in the earth, it was in the heart. Remember this: the final revelation is not a prediction, but a realization, that we are the prophecy fulfilled. When enough of us remember, the heavens no longer need to speak through walls of stone. The divine voice will echo again, not from Rome, but from within the souls of those who dare to listen. You have now glimpsed a forbidden knowledge humanity forgot. You have entered the vault and carried its light back to the surface. Guard it well. Share it wisely. For the greatest secret is not hidden beneath the Vatican. It is hidden within you. You have awakened a forbidden knowledge humanity forgot. And next time, we will descend even deeper into the lost gospel that foretold this awakening centuries before it was buried.